Welcome to The Recharge with me, Troy Deeney, powered by Wow Hydrate. This is your no-nonsense deep dive into the beautiful game. Each week I'll be bringing you honesty and insight into the big stories happening in the world of football. We're a new channel, so like, subscribe, tell your friends, comment, go back and forth. I want to make this a show not only with me, but with all the questions that you ask as well. You know what to do. Press that button right there. This is The Recharge. Let's go. I do have sympathy for Eddie Howe. He's inherited a difficult time at Newcastle. Obviously, everyone thinks the Saudi ownership are going to spend billions of pounds. But also, I think you have to remember, he's lost his director of football in Paul Mitchell as well. I know they didn't see eye to eye last year over the Mark Gahey situation, and we'll get on to Mark Gahey a little bit later. But I just think Eddie's now got a striker, a world-class striker who wants to leave. He's also trying to get people in the door and compete with the likes of Man United, like Sesko, who we've seen. Sesko is not a person, I promise you that. But we're also in a situation where you're competing against Man United. You're trying to get people to the northeast, but unfortunately, it's a very difficult situation to get people to go up there. So for me, I do sympathise with that. From a footballing and coaching point of view, in my opinion, Eddie Howe is the best English coach we've got available, and in my opinion, should be the England manager right now. But we're not in that situation, and we know where he's going to be. I think he's handled the ISAK situation perfectly, kept him away from the group. I've been there. When you have players who want to leave, and then you start to disrupt the group, what happens with the main group here? And this is what you have to look at. It's not about ISAK, it's about the main group. The main group are saying, but why does he get to train on his own? Why does he get special treatment? Also, if this deal doesn't happen, and Eddie has pandered to what ISAK wants and makes ISAK the focus, the rest of the group then will go, well, we don't care what you say now because you chose him over us. So I think he's handled it really well. I would say bigger than that, when you have to look at everything they've come in at, I think Newcastle have, pussyfooted around a little bit. Trafford, they could have got that done. They didn't. They end up with Ramsdale. We'll wait and see. I'm not convinced that that's the way forward. Mbeumo, Brian obviously decided to go to Man United, but they've been linked with maybe 5 to 6 players, and it's like tepid offers. Go in, get it done, and move forward. Vissa, they've had to double back for now to try and get. So I think in this regard, he would love to be a coach and just deal with it, but also I think because of the fallout with Paul Mitchell, and now he wanting his own players, he's kind of inherited a little bit of this trouble himself. But on the whole, I think he's handled himself really, really well. ISAK to Liverpool, the continuing conversation of this transfer window. There's always one that just drags on and we think, should it happen? Is it going to happen? For me, I just don't see how it doesn't happen. I know the Saudi ownership obviously want to keep him and want to, put their line in the sand and say, no, we're not being dictated to. But ISAK can make this very, very uncomfortable. He has to go up to training because he wants to get paid. He's not going to play. He's also potentially going to mess up training sessions, get into fights with people. There's all sorts of things that players do to force moves. Secondly, Liverpool want him. And again, you look at the Community Shield game. Yes, they started well. Yes, they did well. I know they lost the game on penalties. But when you actually looked at the bench, it's quite a thin squad. So you have to look at, they could potentially get a Gahey now. That's the cover at centre-back that they need. Again, who is the cover for Etikite? He's a young man as well. Lovely goal, lovely finish and real great poise. But he can obviously play off the left as well. So can ISAK if you actually look back through the history. But I just think they will go back in and get it done. Liverpool will manoeuvre now, and they've got Darwin Núñez out the door. They've got Diaz out the door. I think there's 3 or 4 that could potentially move on that are 100% profit as well. Maybe you cash in on a Curtis Jones. Maybe you cash in on a Harvey Elliott just to get this deal over the line. But they're in a wonderful, wonderful position. Newcastle must be frustrated. ISAK, from a player's solely point of view, he must be thinking, what more do I have to do? He's literally come out on social media, said he hates Newcastle, hates the place. I want that to be in context as well. He's trying to force a move. He doesn't hate Newcastle. He doesn't hate living there. If it all went swimmingly well, he would have left. He would have just been like, I've enjoyed my time, thank you to everything, and gone. This is part of the things that play out in negotiations. Unfortunately, you only ever see what the player's done. You don't ever see what the club's done or what the manager's saying behind closed doors. So, been in that situation myself where it's very frustrating, but you've got to force a move out. And secondly, Newcastle now are trying to get 2 people in before they let him leave. I think they're going to need 3, personally. I think I need 3 to cover all of the issues and the attributes that ISAK has. So the assists, so the goals, so the running in behind, so the link-up play. He's one person that can do everything. It's a little bit like if Salah was to leave Liverpool last year. You're not just going, oh, how do we get a goal scorer? It's a goal scorer. It's the assist. It's a set pieces. It's a penalty taker. There's all these different things that you have to look into. So for me, I expect Newcastle to do 2 or 3 more deals, then move ISAK on and be really fine with the PSR. People talk about PSR. Newcastle struggle because they don't have the infrastructure in place, which is what they're trying to grow. But they are also in a position where they've got Champions League football, so they've got more money to spend. They'll probably get 125 to 135 million for ISAK. There's a lot of money to spend, but other people and other teams know that. So in my opinion, this will all get played out. It'll all be done. Newcastle will move on. ISAK will move on, and life will be good. But he will get a frosty reception if it is done before the second game of the season. Right then, let's get started then. Strikers just moving all over the place. So that's the only place I would have started. Kluivert potentially to Brentford from Bournemouth. That's a nice move. I really like that move. We'll get into that in a minute. You got Visser leaving Brentford to go to Newcastle. Really like that move as well for both parties. Bournemouth now losing players. Who do they bring in? So many different questions to ask. It's a strikers market. Normally it's about goalkeepers and right backs and left backs. Strikers market, and I love it. So let's dive straight into it. Visser with Newcastle, I think suits perfectly. Probably done a season too long at Brentford, but him and Brian and Burma last season were excellent. Play anywhere across the front three, so Eddie Howe will really enjoy that and like the fluidity which he can have. Works hard, no trouble. Real nice family man as well, Visser. I think him and his family will enjoy living in Newcastle. But I also think when you look at it, he can kick on again. He's never played the Champions League, so we get to see, can he do that? There's a World Cup year coming on as well, so everyone's going to be raising their game. You're going to hear me say a lot about that in this podcast. World Cup year will change the way everybody plays because everyone goes into it thinking, I have a chance for their national team. You'll see a lot with the Brazilian players, you'll see a lot with the English players moving forward. But for Visser, anywhere across the front three, got that raw striker pace that he can go up there, score goals. Scored just short of 20, I think, last year in the Premier League, 19, 20 goals. Also direct, can take the ball from deep and run past people. I think he's perfect for Newcastle. I think the Newcastle fan base will love him. And then let's flip over to Brentford. Kluivert for Bournemouth. Never really settled. Scores goals, does well for Bournemouth. I was there a lot last year working for TalkSport, and there was times when he played okay, didn't do anything wrong, but if there was a sub, he was the one who would come off. It's like the manager always had in his head, he could only last 60 minutes, 70 minutes, I'll get him off. And if he didn't score, he was the one who came off every time without fail. So I think for him, it's a great move. I think the way that Brentford play, that tight pitch, would be very similar to Bournemouth. I think it suits him. I think he's probably got arguably a better situation where you can go and be the main man. I think at Bournemouth you've got Evan Nilsson, you had Kirkes last year, you've got Semenyo, you've got all these different players that will feel that they are the main men for their own reasons. But I think at Brentford he'll look around and go, no, there's space here. There's absolute space for me to come in, step in and develop and go, right, this is the player that I need to be. He'll get 3 or 4 games where he could be 6 or 7 out of 10. But Brentford will still play him, and then he'll score free kicks, he'll score a penalty, and that'll give him the confidence. So I think that's a really good move, and a really good move for Keith Andrews as well. Next part up is who do I like? Who do I like for this upcoming season? Man United. I really like what they're doing. I'm a big fan of Ruben Amorim. I think the culture, this is a word that gets thrown around, that he's inherited at this Man United club, is one that was, training ground hasn't been updated. Stadiums falling apart, players who think they're more entitled, because of the money that they're earning or the squad not being good enough, that they deserve to be played for Man United, and that's never the way. We gave a bit of grace last year for 6 months just to clear the decks, just to get his identity, and there was so many times people going, oh, you never win the Premier League with a 3-4-3 system. Actually, just look at Antonio Conte and he'll tell you differently. I think when you look at it, he has done every step of the way right so far. They only scored 40 odd goals. I think it was 42, 46 goals last year. Go and get a striker in Sesko. They've got Brian Mbeumo, tried and tested, knows what he's going to do. Cunha, tried and tested, know what he's going to do. So that front three now, where there was always this who fits where and what, It's like, okay, that's solid. We know what's going to happen. I also think he's given himself the opportunity to move Fernandes forward in certain games. He's also given himself the opportunity to put Mount and Kobe Mainoo forward in certain games. So that, for me now, that front 5, 6 places look really solid. The only area I'm really concerned about is the 2 holding midfielders. I really am. I just don't think they've got the legs and the discipline in there. The links with Belieber, for me, go and get that done right now. He won't be there next year for you. He'll be out of your price point. You won't be able to get him. Go and get that done now. Spend the 80, 90, 100 million. Get it done. Move forward. Because putting him in there next to Bruno Fernandes, next to Ugarte, whoever you want to put, Kobe Mainoo, you'll be in a situation where you're able to really just go, bang, now we're a serious contender. You look at the back 5, if everyone stays fit, and again, if everyone stays fit, Luke Shaw, Dorgu, Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro, Delat, they've got enough players. You've got Ahmad there as well. So that back 5 is relatively solid. Again, loads of question marks and pressure on the keeper. But similarly to Chelsea, if you've got so much talent in front of him and so much people doing their jobs and knowing what they're supposed to do, you actually don't have to matter about the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper only comes into effect if, like last season, he's having 15 shots a game at him, has to be the pivot point to start the attacks. I just don't think you need to. So I know they want to get Donnarumma. Again, that's a short-term fix. An excellent, world-class goalkeeper that will bring confidence and belief to that whole team. Used to winning, that's important as well. But I just think, is it worth getting somebody that's going to give you 2 good years and then you're in the same position again and you started to look for a goalkeeper? Maybe. But if it was for me right now, Belieber is the one. Go get him done. Say to Brighton, what's the price? Go and get it done. Because I think next year, you're talking Caicedo money, you're talking 100 million plus. And I think that's very, very difficult for Man United to compete in that market. I also think the likes of Real Madrid will start to look at him. Potentially Chelsea, Liverpool, we've seen it all before. But I just think Man U need to go and get that done right now. Another team I weirdly am starting to like, not ready to go all the way in there with them yet, is Everton. I know that's a real wild one. But you know what David Moyes brings you? It's a solid setup, solid structure. They're not going to concede a great deal of goals. We know that. The whole new stadium as well, which I think plays into their hands now because they can build their own narrative. The Everton fan base will be buzzing to get in there. They've been at Goodison, which in my opinion was one of the best grounds in English football. It's where I made my Premier League debut. It's one I'll always hold a special place in my heart. But it was time to move on. It was time to go to a new space. Back 5, solid. You know what you're going to get. 2 holding midfielders, solid. You know what you're going to get. The one bit we've always worried about Everton, where is the goals? Where's the creativity? Well, I'll tell you what, just sprinkle in Jack Grealish in there. That'll do. Put in there a £100 million player, used to winning. Been at Aston Villa where he's been at a smaller club than Man City, but used to being the main man. So you give him the ball, let him go and play. Again, World Cup year. It's a World Cup year, people. Why do you think everyone's moving? Jack's gone to Everton this time last year, wouldn't even batted an eyelid at it. Jordan Henderson, gone to Brentford, wouldn't even batted an eyelid at it. Kyle Walker, gone to Burnley, wouldn't even batted an eyelid at it. It's a World Cup year. People want to be playing. They have to be in a position where they're playing week in, week out, scoring, assisting, and making people go, hi, I'm here. Can I come to the World Cup, please? That's why you saw Marcus Rashford move as well. So I think it's one of those years you're going to see people do really well. I really like what Everton are doing. 1 or 2 more players, they could be a little dark horse for a top 10 finish. And I think that'd be an excellent season for them, especially that first year. When you look what they've done for the last 5 years, struggled at the start of the season, struggled to stay out of relegations. So in my opinion, I think that'd be great. Just on Jack, because I think there's a lot of talk at the moment about, you know, how much money Everton are paying. Is he the same player as Aston Villa? A few little bits you have to look at from a player's point of view. He hasn't got to move home, so there's no disruption at home with family and wife and young kids. He ain't got to move anywhere. That's fine. That's set up. All he has to do is drive to training, train as hard as he can, go to the games, play as hard as he can. And there's going to be so many players at Everton that look at him and go, oh, go on then, show us. We'll just give you the ball. And I think David Moyes, if you look over his Everton career and his West Ham career, you look and you go, oh, He's used to having a solid foundation. If you go back to the early Everton days, Stephen Pienaar, Cahill, Fellaini, all these types of players that he'd just go, right, I've got a solid structure, a solid foundation. Now I need that little flair player on the wing to go give me something. Jack fits the mould perfectly. So I think from Jack's point of view, he's gone to a manager who's going to A, trust him, B, give him the license to make mistakes, because you need that as a player, instill confidence, make sure he's always, and I mean always, the man who gets the ball. I think with him and Dye, they're now in a wonderful position where they can go on then you guys, go create, go try something. And I think you're going to see a really special connection between the two of those guys. And hopefully they have the main man through the middle to score the goals. Beto last year looked like he could be that guy. The year before didn't look like it, so it's 50-50. I still think they need to go and get one more striker and really be in a position to kick on. But I do like what they've done so far. Who do I think is going to struggle this season? Well, there's a few. I'm really worried for Wolves. I think their manager is an excellent manager. Did wonderful last season. But you can't keep selling your best players. They've done it the last 3 seasons now, losing player after player after player and just not reinvesting. A lot of pressure on Strand Larsen and Gomez in the middle as well, who I think is an exceptional player. I thought he would have moved on, if I'm being totally honest. But I just don't see it. I just don't see who's going to be the person that leads you. Cunha last year for 5 to 8 games got them out of the mud on his own. That was on his own. I just don't know whether you can do that again. West Ham, I really worry about West Ham. I like Graham Potter. I think he's a nice bloke. Are we sure? Are we sure? And the reason I say that is because Brighton have a model, a setup, an infrastructure that everyone that's been there for the last 10 years, last decade, has gone on to be solid. They do their job there and they move on. So we've got his work at Brighton, which he did well. We have to give him credit, he did well. We've got his work at Chelsea. Then we got the first 6 months at West Ham. Now, granted, not his players, not his infrastructure, but he's changed that. He's brought in his guys upstairs to make sure that the right talent and player profile has been found. So far, they've come up with Callum Wilson. Callum's my guy as well. I love Cal to death. But is he going to stay fit and available? Some talks about apparently it's not the player that Wilson wanted, but it's the one that they can afford. Again, loads of pressure on Jared Bowen. Lost Mikel Antonio, whether you like Mix or not, been arguably the best player of the last 5 to 6 years. Is the most impactful player in my opinion. Worry about the legs and energy in midfield. Really concerned about that. And the goalkeeper, again, always going to be mistakes. So I do worry about those 2 teams in particular. For what we would be considered solid Premier League teams that you know they're going to be in that position from 10th to 15th. You normally put them in there safe and solid. Unfortunately, we can't say that for this year, in my opinion. Then the biggest one, which is probably a bit too obvious, is the Keith Andrews, Brentford. But I know Keith, played with Keith at Watford. I think he's a great bloke. Not only that, captain, leader, knows what it takes to play at the levels, knows what it takes to just go away, work in the background. I don't think people have put enough stock in how much work he's done behind the scenes, coaching, gone away with Ireland. Do you know what I mean? And everyone goes, oh, he's a set-piece coach. No, he's not. He's much more than that. But he's also put in some real solid people around him, real good coaches. It's just whether the players, build on what he's done and got after it. I think they will, because I think the players now aren't looking at names. You see that at Brighton, who we spoke about a little bit earlier, with their young manager. Danny Welbeck's older than the manager. He's not turning around going, I don't respect you. He's got to see what you do on the training pitch. I just think they've lost 40-odd goals. Who's going to replace that? And at the moment, nobody. No one. Brian going, Visser going. There is space for Sade. Obviously, they brought the Brazilian boy in as well, who got injured early doors. What can he do? Kluivert coming in the building. It's a bit of a gamble. But I think they'll struggle, but I think they'll flatter to deceive as well. I think there'll be early shoots and signs of struggle, but I think they'll be safe. I like what Brentford's got. I think their whole structure and infrastructure is good. No one knew about Thomas Frank 4 years ago. Now look, After Dean Smith, I said 4 years, maybe a little bit earlier, but after Dean Smith, Thomas Frank took over from the coaching staff. I'm not sure if that's the right fit, not sure if that's the right way to go. Now look, he's at Spurs and no one's even questioned it. So it's on Keith. I trust Keith as a bloke. I trust Keith as a football man. And he got good people in there. Jordan Henderson's got in, good captain. World Cup year again, saying the same things. Some good lads in there that I think will get him over the line. No one spoke about Kelleher as well. Massive year for him, the goalkeeper. Loads of times he stepped in at Liverpool, looked really solid, and could he do it for a short period of time? Now you're the number one goalkeeper at a club that's expecting you to deliver week in, week out. Now we'll get to see, because I always think a good number two is a good number two for a reason. And the reason you've not been a number one normally is because you can't concentrate over the course of the season. You make mistakes and you're a little bit sloppy. Maybe I've been a little bit harsh on Kelleher. Hopefully, like most things, happy to be proven wrong. He won't go to fantasy team just yet, but if he can prove me wrong, then I'll be first on here to say I got that wrong. So I think those three will get sucked in. I'm really hoping Sunderland can do something. I think Leeds have flattered to deceive in the market so far. Burnley flattered to deceive in the market so far. But I think Sunderland have had a real good go. Right bash, trying to get some pace, power, some experience in their Granit Xhaka as well. Yeah, I like what Sunderland have done, but they have to start off really, really well. So, I think those three that have come up with the three that we just spoke about, they're going to be the bottom six that are fighting it out week in, week out to stay away from the relegation zone. And I hope, for the championship's sake, one of those boys stay up. I really do. Right, predictions. This is one segment that we're going to do every single week. It's something I love doing, looking at the teams and how I think it's going to go. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but it's fun. So we've got the Premier League's back. It starts Friday night. It is the big one. Liverpool, Bournemouth. So much movement for Liverpool. New players. They're better, in my opinion, than they were last year. Bournemouth, we're not sure. Just lost a centre half to PSG. Losing players. People sniffing around their other players. Not sure how that's going to play out. But if you ask me, it's going to be a really interesting game. I think Liverpool win comfortably. 3-1. Salah will score. I think he'll get off to a flyer. I think Etikite will score, but I just think it'll be a case of looking at Charity Shield. Can they control the game? I think Ryan Gravenberch being out was a massive loss for them in the game. So I think for that, I'll go 3-1 Liverpool. Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Any other time, you would say it's a massive game. Two historically great clubs, massive fan bases, do really good on the pitch, ownership models, everything seems to be solid. Weirdly, though, this time of the year, Villa dealing with PSR, hardly got anyone through the door. Newcastle, as we spoke about earlier, got everything with ISAK, can't get everyone through the door, loads of problems there. Lost Anthony Gordon as well through injury. I'm going to go Aston Villa to win 2-0. I think it's going to be a scrappy game. We're not sure whether Vista can get over the line and be fit and available to play straight away. I just worry for Newcastle that this little period could just derail their whole season because of so much mess they've got to deal with. But I'm going to go Aston Villa. Not lost too many players, not brought too many in, still solid, still know what they're doing. And it pains me to say, but I think Villa win 2-0. Brighton versus Fulham. Well, if there was ever a game you wanted on the first game of the season for both teams, Brighton are, you know what you're going to get. They're going to play out from the back. They're going to be intense. They're going to get after you. I like Brighton early on in the season because I think after that little bit of a break, the manager gets to refresh, get his new ideas across, and they can really double down. They had a little bit of a sticky patch in the middle of the season last year, which kind of derailed them from being in Europe. I think the fan base and the ownership will start to think that they should and probably could get into Europe in those top 5-6 places. Personally, I think they're going to finish 8th. I think they'll just miss out on that, but still maybe get Europe depending on how everything falls. Fulham, really, really interesting year for Fulham. They've been linked with the likes of Raheem Sterling. I know the manager was linked with Spurs. Again, I know Marco really well, so I just look at it and think he would want more players through the door. He would want more pace, more power, more match winners in his team, and I don't think he's been backed in the market anywhere near enough yet, in my opinion. They will still get things done, probably waiting on things to move around and shake around to see who they can get. But this is a game I think Brighton win. I think Brighton win this game 2-1. Forest versus Brentford now. Forest in Europe, managed to keep hold of Gibbs White. Have they got people through the door that's gone, oh, that's really good, I really like that? No, but I still think they've got the manager, they've got the know-how, and I think they're going to be without the ball a lot, similar to last year, 35-37% possession. But I think they're just going to kill Brentford on transition and turnover. I think Brentford are going to be good under Keith Andrews. They're going to play a similar way. Loads of passes, loads of nice intricate play. Do they have the killer instinct up top? I'm not sure. And I think they're going to make mistakes in transition because it's new and they're trying to get things on. So I would expect that Forest just do a job on them. I'm going to go 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1 for Forest to beat Brentford. Sunderland West Ham. Who knew on day one we'd have a massive 6-pointer? Who knew that? Sunderland, again, I've been there. When you just get promoted, pre-season flies by because you've never pushed yourself so hard. For those lads who've never played in the Prem, you push yourself so hard. You're flying. Your emotions are all over the place. It's at home. Oh my God, that place is going to be rocking. The Stadium of Light. I was there for the Championship playoff game. The best atmosphere I've ever seen, especially when that goal went in. I think they're going to be in a position now where they're like, right, expecting West Ham, as we alluded to, aren't great. They're probably going to be down there with us. But can they deal with the likes of Jared Bowen? Can they keep him quiet? If they keep him quiet, I fancy him to nick something. So I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game. And I think West Ham have got the better individual players, but I think Sunderland, with their energy, with the anticipation, I think will be 1-0 up, but just get picked towards the end for a 1-1. Tottenham Burnley, huge game. Burnley, we know will try and be solid and resolute. Scotty Parker built the foundation of them coming out of the Championship with so many clean sheets, breaking records. I think the introduction of Kyle Walker will help with that experience. I'm not sure, if I'm being honest, on Broho. They bought him in from Chelsea. Every time he's got out on loan, hasn't really done anything. Clearly got talent, clearly got ability. I seen him last year for Everton, kick the floor and come off injured. Like he injured himself. That's special to me. But he keeps getting these loans. Everyone can see something, so maybe I haven't seen enough, and hopefully at Burnley he'll have this good run of form and he'll get some goals. Again, World Cup year, who knows? But I just think Spurs will have too much. Thomas Frank at home, at White Hart Lane, will be able to show everybody, right, here's what we are, here's what we're about. He's still talking about in the market. There's still links with Savinho and people like that. So clearly feels, losing Maddison, they're going to need someone in that 10. But they've got Kudus. I really, really like him. Pacey, direct. I think Spurs do a number. I think this could be 4-0. 4-0 Spurs. Wolves versus Man City. Wow. Perfect game for Man City. Absolutely perfect. Wolves at home will have to try and do something. Will have to try and come out. Can't sit at home at Molineux and go, oh, we're hoping for a draw. The home faithful won't allow that. There's so much negativity around the place as well with the lack of signings. I think they're going to have to go at City. City, who have made all their early run-ins, their signings were done early doors. Ain't Nori going back at Wolves. I think he's going to be an exceptional buy for Man City at left back. Problem solved for the first time in about 5 to 7 years. They haven't had a real solid left back, and now he's got in, he's got it sorted. I think this could be big. I think City could really put a hurting on this Wolves team. I'm going to go 4-0. 4-0 Man City, maybe even 5. Chelsea versus Palace. Now this is a game I'm actually really, really excited for. Potentially game of the weekend. Chelsea are flying. Their summer has been fantastic. Bought João Pedro in, bought Delap in, bought in 5 or 6 other players, but won the Club World Cup, beat PSG comfortably. Obviously worked that game, got humiliated. Sorry, Chelsea fans, I didn't see it happening. Happy to be proven wrong, as you know. They've ended pre-season really strongly as well. Looks like Cole Palmer's invigorated, wants to make that number 10 spot his, moving for the World Cup year. And Palace just beating Liverpool in the Community Shield. Got some bad news about them not being in the right European competition, but that's nothing they can change right now. Still kept hold of Eze. Really important whether the Gahey deal gets done, whether he plays or not. But I still just think it's a solid team, and Palace will not fear anyone just after beating Liverpool the weekend just gone. So I'm going to say, I think Chelsea have too much. I was worried about them maybe having a bit of a hangover for the Club World Cup, but I think Chelsea win I'm going to say 3-1. Man United versus Arsenal. Normally would be a huge game in the calendar, one you want to see and be like, oh my God, these two are the front runners. I personally think Arsenal have missed their boat. I really think they've missed their opportunity to win the league. I think City will improve. I think Liverpool are going to improve. I think Chelsea are coming. I think this is going to be the hardest league for them to win. So I think they've just missed it. They maybe signed Gyökeres 1 year too late. Still not 100% sold. I think he'll score goals. Will he score more than Haaland? I'd argue no. Will he score more than Liverpool's main striker, whether that be Salah or ISAK? I'd argue no. I'd probably argue I'm not sure if he scores more than João Pedro this year. I really don't know. So that's my concern. I think Saka's still going to be Saka. I think Arsenal's still going to be solid defensively. Goalkeeper, the back four are excellent. The two sitters, whether that's Zubimendi or Norgard with Rice, is good. It works. I just worry whether they have to put Rice back for certain games to cover the distance. I think Zubimendi's a fantastic footballer, but can he move his feet? Can he move his legs? I'm not sure. I think you can play off the back of him. But if you have to put Rice back there, you lose something going forward. So there's loads of questions. Man United are in a position where they are building. I just don't think they're season ready yet. So I'm going to say Arsenal win 3-1. Is what I'm going to say. Arsenal win 3-1. Leeds versus Everton. I've touched on both of these teams earlier on in the pod. I think Leeds they're going to flatter to deceive. I think that fan base is excellent. I think they're going to be rocking. Ellen Road's going to be a fortress. You don't want to go there. I just think the players are not going to deliver. For that Ellen Road and that fan base to get behind them, you have to have pace, power, intensity. They've tried to go big and strong. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether they've got the guile and that little bit of skill and IQ to get over the line. Again, happy to be proven wrong. Sorry, Leeds fans, you know I love you really, but I just think Everton are going to do a number on them, and I fancy it to be a close game, but I think Everton win 2-1. That was your predictions done, and now we're going to have a little look at how little look back on the champ. I thought it was an interesting weekend. I think we learned a little bit, but we didn't learn a lot. So I was at the Birmingham City Ipswich game. Highly disappointed in Ipswich. Thought they were very, very poor. They'll still be there because the depth in squad, but there's so much turmoil going on with, Amari Hutchinson, Leif Davis and the like. Are they still going to be there or not? Thought they were a solid team that will probably get you playoffs, but need to add one or two players if they really want to push on for first and second. Birmingham City I thought were excellent. I really did, and that's just not being biased. I thought they were unlucky with the first goal being ruled out. I don't think that should have been the case. I think that the two strikers, Kyojo and Stansfield, look exciting. I just worry about Birmingham. If they could want to go to the top two, and Chris Davis won't mind me saying this because I spoke to him about it. My opinion is they need maybe 3 more players that can really make that starting 11 excellent. And then you've got to look at maybe 2 bench players. If you could get 3 more starters in, and I think, my opinion is that they're close to getting those things done, then having 2 or 3 solid bench players, I think they're going to be in a wonderful position. They brought on the likes of Landon Dykes. Don't know the fella, I don't mean he's personally bud, but not good enough. Not good enough. He struggled at QPR, struggled in League One last year, and he's struggling again. So when he came on, no focal point, no physicality. Again, that's an area of the pitch that I look at and a bit of the game that I loved. I'm really disappointed in that. So I think Blues will be up there. I think Ipswich will be up there. But I think actually there's more promise for Birmingham City than there is for Ipswich, personally. Again, happy to be proven wrong by the end of it. Wrexham started off well against Southampton. Southampton 2-1 didn't do it justice. Again, 2-1, scoring 2 in the 90 plus minutes will make it like there was a smash and grab. 27 shots Southampton had, most of them in the 18-yard box. So again, they're going to be fine. I still think they need a little bit more quality, a little bit more to get over the line, but good start for Will and Southampton. Got the winning feeling back instantly, but can they carry that on throughout the week and into next week? That'll be what's the challenge is for Wrexham. Again, love the story, love what they've done, love the players they've brought in. Bit too one-dimensional for me. Loads of solid-bodied lads. Connor Cody, Kiefer Moore, they know what they're doing. They've been around the block. Where's the pace? Where's the power? Where's a little bit of agility, a little bit of free thinking? Maybe that's something they get later on in the window. I'm not sure, but all in all, solid. Have a little touch on Watford. Disappointed. Probably could up against a Charlton team that are, in my opinion, will be safe, but will not be in the top half. Thought Watford were okay. Load of individuals trying to win the game again. Best player on the pitch, in my opinion, was Moussa Sissoko. Unfortunately, Moussa's about as old as me and probably shouldn't be doing that at his age. But again, you don't lose the quality, you probably just lose your legs. So disappointing for Watford. No one really stood out as got to have a really tough season. That's the Championship, swings and roundabouts. But Leicester weren't that impressive. Got the job done, weren't that impressive. Sheffield Wednesday had a load to build on. Good to see the Chalobah back. Nathaniel Chalobah back playing. Unfortunately came off with an injury, but got a goal for Sheffield Wednesday. So much off-field talk for Sheffield Wednesday, but I think when you have a performance like that, it galvanises and gets everyone together. So they'll feel confident, but they're under pressure. But in terms of the top, all right. Weird start for the Championship. Need to see more goals.